23rd. This is The Signal. I'm Bernice Hillier sitting in for Adam Walsh today. June is Pride Month, and we have people from the 2S LGBTQ plus community from across the province. We're going to be talking about events that are coming up and the ways that people are celebrating. We are also going to be hearing from members of the queer community about what it means to feel welcomed and safe and what it takes to make them feel welcomed and safe, and some suggestions on ways we can all, as communities in this province, support the 2S LGBTQ plus community. If you have some thoughts to share, a question perhaps for our guests, you can get those to us by texting us this afternoon, 709-327-8206 to text The Signal during the live show, 709-327-8206. You can send us an email as well, thesignal@cbc.ca, or you can leave us a voicemail that we will air later, 709-576-5260 is the number for that. Once again, the text line is 709-327-8206. Our email address is thesignal@cbc.ca. Our associate producer, Arlette Lazarenko, is keeping an eye on all of those different sources of information, and she'll pass on the information to me. I'm broadcasting from Corner Brook today, filling in for Adam Walsh, and I'm pleased to say that Quinn Gesso is also in our Corner Brook studio. Now, Quinn is a member of the Corner Brook Bay of Islands Pride organization. She's program facilitator and West Coast representative for Trans Support NL. Good afternoon to you, Quinn.
Thanks for having me, Bernice.
It's a pleasure to have you in studio. I'm used to hosting this show many times with guests in St. John's, but it's my pleasure to have you here. Eddie St. Coeur is in our St. John's studio. He's co-chair external for St. John's Pride, and they're just ramping up to get going in the month of July. Good afternoon, and hello, Eddie.
Hi, Bernice. Thanks for having us here today.
And we have two guests joining us by phone today. Mason Woodward is a volunteer with Safe Alliance in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Hello, Mason.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're so pleased that you could be a part of the program as well, and I guess representing the big land and telling us what's happening there. Renee Pilgrim is joining us as well. She is an organizer with the GNP Queer Hub, which is, of course, GNP, Great Northern Peninsula, so in the St. Anthony area. But Renee is joining us today from Amherst. Good afternoon, Renee.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Bernice.
And we have a little bit of a delay with Renee, so we'll just pause when we're talking to Renee so that she can hear what we are asking her, and then we'll hear her answer. Well, first of all, let's go around and ask each of you what you've been up to in recent weeks and what's yet to come. And I'm going to start with Quinn because Quinn is here in our studio, but also because she's been involved with organizing events this month. Corner Brook Bay of Islands Pride has been celebrating throughout the month of June. So, Quinn, what's been happening here in Corner Brook?
There's been a lot. All in all, we've had 15 events planned for the month over the 30 days. There has been a poster contest, which is through the Association for New Canadians here in Corner Brook. There's Queer Timeline, which is through Curiosity Wednesdays. We've kind of taken over all the windows at Brood Awakening here on West, and we'll have a person there who's going to be talking about queer history and events throughout queer history. There's been multiple flag raisings. Ours was on June 2nd. It went beautifully. CNA did theirs on the 3rd. They had light refreshments, and we had staff and students attending. Miss Diva Tux and Miss Diagnose did their drag show. It was their event, and we were just so happy to be able to advertise for that. And many other events throughout. There was a film screening of Wildhood at the Association for New Canadians. There was our craft fair on the 14th. We had laser tag yesterday at the Vine Place Community Center. It was absolute chaos, and it was so much fun. All the kids had fun playing real-life Fortnite. And there's still events to go leading up to our Pride Parade, which will be this Saturday coming, the 28th.
All right, we're going to talk more about that for sure. So we'll come back maybe to the Pride Parade, which is coming up on the weekend. Let's go to Eddie. And Eddie, I know you guys are really looking ahead now to a full slate of events in July between, the 9th and the 20th, I believe you told me?
Yeah, so our festival runs in July. So June for us is really kind of our preseason training, as we call it. So we had an event, we had a disco ball fundraiser at Kitty Vitty Brewery earlier this month, which was great. We had some people flying from Halifax even to attend that one. And we've also been going around trying to support different Pride organizations around the province. So we went out to Clarenville Pride to kind of be out there and lift them up when we got to meet with other Pride organizations that are there. And now we're in the all glitters and rainbows in our households until we get to July 20th, because this year we've got 32 events planned over the course of 11 days, which is a big increase in programming. But the same as we heard from Quinn out in Corner Brook, a lot of that comes together because we have community partners that program them, and then we help with advertising and logistics and volunteers and those kinds of things. And we're always so grateful every year to see everybody jump in and say, I want to do something this year.
All right, let's go to Mason in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Mason, where do things stand in terms of celebrating Pride where you are?
Yes, hello. For us at Safe Alliance, we tended to have what we call our Pride Week. We're trying to aim to have it like the first Monday after Canada Day. It didn't happen that way this year. But so in June, we are involved with the town hall flag raising. We already did that this year. But for our Pride Week runs from June 30th to July 7th. We have all kinds of events planned. We have a paint night, a trivia night, a board game night at our local library. We also have our Pride March and Pride in the Park on Saturday, as well as a Pride dance party at a local pub here. And then we are with the YMCA. We're having the Fit and Fabulous, and I know we're going to be doing some cornhole there with the 50 Plus Club as well. And then on July 7th, we have a chosen family supper that is funded by Quadrangle. And this year we have a special treat because 5 Wing Goose Bay, which is our military base here in Labrador, has offered to do a showing of the fruit machine on the 26th. So we're pretty excited about that.
And just to be clear on the date for your Pride Parade, that's the 5th of July, the Saturday, is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
Okay. And we have Renee on the line representing the GNP Queer Hub on the Great Northern Peninsula. So Renee, tell us what's been happening associated with Pride in recent weeks and what else you have planned.
Sure. Thank you all so much. This is exciting. We have a lot of things planned, and we're going to be running our Pride this year, August the 11th to the 16th. And mostly because, I don't know if you recognize, but June on the Great Northern Peninsula is iceberg season. Even though you might get nice weather in Twillingate for iceberg watching, it's pretty cold in June. So we're doing ours now in August. But we will have an event in June. So on the 25th, we are going to have trivia night. And we're really excited about that. It's pop culture trivia. And there's at least, I think, 7 teams registered so far. And that is a fundraiser, and lots of community groups obviously have, jumped in to support us. We've been very blessed with that kind of support. We did raise our flag on the 1st of June in St. Anthony. And it's the first time that our flag was raised at the beginning of June. We did raise it last year. And it was taken down to raise the Iceberg Festival flag, but it's flying up there again, which we're really excited about. And August the 11th, we'll raise the flag again. On the 12th, we're going to be having bingo, and I think that's at the Legion. On the 13th, we're going to be making some signs with the Association of New Canadians. On the 14th, we're going to be decorating cookies. And that's a kids' cookie decorating thing. We're really hoping to get a bunch of ages and different events in there. And that's with the College of the North Atlantic. On Friday the 15th, we're doing a hike with the Great Northern Trail Association and hopefully a fire, weather permits. And Saturday, we'll be having our parade, and we're still excited about deciding the route and confirming with the town. And then we'll be having a dance party club night in my home, a community of St. Anthony Bight. So we're super excited about
Well,
that.
Renee, that's very exciting. So from the 11th to the 16th is when you're really highlighting Pride in St. Anthony. I want to come back now to Quinn here in the studio and ask her to tell us about what's planned for this coming Saturday in Corner Brook. You are having the Pride Parade.
Rain or shine, we're going to be out for the Pride Parade. We did have to change our routes, obviously, because Corner Brook is known for tearing up streets. So we had to reposition our Pride Parade. But we're going to be starting at the Majestic Lawn and doing the West Street, Park Street circuit, which is what a lot of organizations here do. It's got plenty of visibility, too, so that's going to be grand for us. Halibu is going to be doing our barbecue, so the barbecue is going to be going the whole time. And we have DJ Mel coming in for music. There's going to be a couple of vendor tables, some community partners coming down, giving out Pride swag, such as Divine Place Community Center. And all in all, we're looking to have a really good day. And hopefully, it's going to be one lane blocked off. We'll do the circuit. And if people got the energy, we'll do it twice.
Wonderful. Eddie, I want to come back to you. You talked about some of the different partnerships in the community that you're seeing there in St. John's with those many events that are planned. I think more events planned for the month of July than there are days in July. So I'm just wondering if you could speak to the importance of those partnerships, the fact that you do have so many different community groups who are saying, I'll organize something for Pride Month, and then everybody comes on board.
It's really something interesting to see come together. And by and large, it was a approach that we took about 3 years ago, more so out of self-preservation. A lot of people have great, fantastic ideas and suggestions about like how to really make the festival what it should be and serve up things to all the different kinds of facets and intersections that the community has. And when people would come up to us and say, we have this great idea for Pride, our response started to be, that sounds great. You should do that. And we will support you in doing that. We will try and help you find funding and those kinds of things. And that's really the only way that we think our festival's been able to grow. It's really the only way that a team of volunteers that sit on the boards and on the committees have been able to try and keep our sanity as best as we could. And we've seen some new partnerships, like Quadrangle has come on as an event co-producer this year for a number of different events that we're really, really happy about. And we also worked with First Light to create closed spaces for Two-Spirited and Indigiqueer people as part of the festival. And we've also partnered with different members of the racialized community to also create closed spaces for racialized and Indigenous queer people, because we know that that's something those spaces are hard to create. And those are probably two of the events that we're most excited about and we're most thankful about that we've had community partners come in. And there's been new ones like Big Brothers Big Sisters has come together to offer up a family pride event, which is always something that's really difficult to program. So we're just very thankful and grateful to see all these different components come together and all these community partners jump on board and lean into the festival.
Mason Woodward, you're in Happy Valley Goose Bay. I believe I heard you say that you have the 50 Plus Club involved with organizing some Pride or at least one Pride event in Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Yes, that's actually through our YMCA, and I believe they already kind of was having a cornhole tournament going on, and then we were like, hey, do you want to just kind of like vibe with us? And they're like, sure. So we're looking forward to that. But we too have a lot of organizations involved, like, for example, the Journey Project, which is the NL and Public Legal Information Association of NL. We have a Masonic Lodge that offers their space for our dinners. Maxwell Bentley's is the pub that we will be having our trivia night at, as well as our dance party. And then again, I mentioned the Melville Public Library, which is where we're having our board games. The Kinsman Center, the Kinsman Park is where we're having our Pride events as such. And and then Quadrangle is also helping fund us for at least our children and family. So we do get some support locally as well, and it's nice. And we did have a running club offer to host an event for us as well this year. It didn't work out timing wise, but we're hoping to have an event with them later on in the summer.
Renee, are you seeing the same kind of partnerships happening on the Great Northern Peninsula? I know the GNP Queer Hub is perhaps a newer organization in your area.
Yeah, actually, and the GMP Queer Hub, we started, I think, about 4 years ago, where we were in the library in St. Anthony and we looked around and we were like, oh, we are the four mostly out queer people here in St. Anthony. Let's start a group. And so I was hosting meditations there at the library, and we just decided that we were going to become the GMP Queer Hub. And we reached out to Quadrangle that very first year, and they sent us a bunch of stickers and badges and flags that we could have on hand. And we had a lot of support in the beginning from the library where Jeffrey works there, one of the members of the GMP Queer Hub. And Katie also worked at Rebel Coffee House in St. Anthony. And so Rebel Coffee House kind of became, the hub spot for a lot of the stickers to be displayed, and the library our meeting place. And so last year we organized our first march. But yeah, the GMP Queer Hub is relatively new, but we've gotten a lot of support from members of the community last year. The Polar Center gave us space that we can meet after and have snacks. People brought food, of course, snacks. This woman, Elizabeth from the College of the North Atlantic, did this incredible board with the history of Pride, like an old-fashioned science project construction paper board. And it was amazing to see the history of Pride across the world, and also in Newfoundland. And this year, violence prevention, Darlene Rice there, we went to school together. She stepped up right away to become a partner with us. And the Association of New Canadians, Leanna Sexton, she was there with us last year. Her partner brought the speaker in the back of the truck, and she got some signs up for us. And she's been there from the very beginning with the Association of New Canadians and helping, build some of the events. And they're going to be hosting the sign making workshop.
Quinn, talk a little bit about the community partnerships you see here in Corner Brook, and there are many of them. You've already mentioned a number of organizations that are either hosting events or partnering with you on events.
I think community is one of the most paramount things that any organization needs to really truly flourish in Newfoundland and Labrador in general. So with us, we've got the Community Mental Health Initiative, there's the Vine Place Community Center, Corner Brook Status of Women, the Association for New Canadians, Curiosity Wednesday, College of the North Atlantic, City of Corner Brook. Obviously, we've got Quadrangle in St. John's. They help us out with merch and bling and badges and pins and stickers and all the fun stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all a bunch of like-minded people trying to come together to create safe spaces. And I mean, all of our events are routinely family it's all ages events, because we didn't want to see anybody. I know a lot of people would like probably more 18-plus events, and that's where we put it to the community. If you want to do an 18-plus event, have at it. Do an 18-plus event, and we'll 100% support you on it. But at the end of the day, we don't want youth coming out. If their parents are proud and they want to be supportive, they can come out and do that in the grand scheme. So that way we've got seniors mixing with youth. So, your elder queers are passing on knowledge and stories about what they've went through and how society has changed. And that has a huge impact on our young people. And being able to see that you can come together at any age and celebrate your queerness, your being who you are unapologetically, I think is an absolutely beautiful approach, and something that we've been doing here now for the last 5 years.
Quinn, when you talk about creating safe spaces, making sure everyone feels secure when they're attending the events that you're planning for Pride, you have the Pride Parade just around the corner now, just days away. What are some of the most challenging parts of organizing the Pride Parade with safety in mind?
Well, I mean, obviously, you've got to talk with the city of Corner Brook. They've been a great partner for us. They help us out with, making sure we got a lane closed, helping out there. We partner with the RNC. They'll be leading the parade, and I'm happy to say they'll also be a part of the parade this year as well, which is the first time in a long time for us. We're looking to start building those bridges and healing those past traumas within our community. We're not a large community. We're a fairly small community, and everybody kind of knows one another. So we want to bring that community piece home and really try to build those bridges and strengthen that resolve. So everybody working together, all the moving parts, having Halapu come in to do the barbecue for us, having our DJ come in, and everybody knows somebody. And there's so many moving hands. It would be impossible to do this by myself. Like, I've got an amazing committee. They do above and beyond. I was gone, obviously, for the majority of the June month, and everything ran smoothly. All of our events went off without a hitch. I've had positive feedback from it. Like, it's got to be done. This is the best way for things to go, and I think anybody who's running Pride events really has to keep that community piece paramount. That's how you're going to get people. That's how you're going to get people in attendance. That's how you're going to have funding when you don't have funding. Like, we don't have an influx of funds. What we get is what we have, and we try to stretch it. And if it wasn't for community partners helping us out, such as like Eddie Joyce's office or the Status of Women or whatever, then these Pride events wouldn't have happened without them.
Eddie, what about for you? You're in a metropolitan center. I mean, it's fine for Quinn to talk about here in Corner Brook, a very close-knit community, and obviously she's built a lot of bridges through the years through her involvement with Corner Brook Bay of Islands Pride. What's it like for you from that safety perspective, planning events in St. John's? What do you have to keep in mind?
It's quite a big undertaking. I mean, I think when we talk about the parade itself, to shut down the streets and be able to have teams at every intersection, I think it's our single biggest cost of the festival. I think it runs us somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 every year to be able to pull the parade off, and it's what we need to do. And then we also have to, we work very closely with the city of St. John's, and I think over the last number of years, the parade in the capital city has certainly changed. I think that we've seen bigger numbers, and that's kind of had to evolve that relationship. So the city works with us to make sure now that cars are removed and there's no parking signs that go up and those kinds of things to try and really make it safe. And then we also work with all of the neighbors that are in the community. So this year we have a package that's going to be going out to all the residents that kind of live in that downtown core to tell them, hey, the parade is this day, these are the routes. And then last year we had some instances of people are generally, I think, just the way of the world. Everybody's going through life with stress. So sometimes we were running into issues and people would come upon an intersection and not knowing where they were going. So now there's different companies who have volunteered their employees, or their employees have signed up to be volunteers, so they can be the allies that are at those intersections with information cards to show people how they can get out and get around the parade and those kinds of things. The other piece that is challenging is that because we have so many different intersections in the city, particularly if we think about the most vulnerable, like a lot of racialized people and Indigenous people and sex workers and non-binary people, that, traditionally there's a very good documented history of targeted hate coming from police institutions. And that's not to target individual people that are working within these institutions in the province. But one thing that we had heard for a number of years from these smaller, vulnerable communities is we can't present and take in the festival with those emblems there and those reminders there of these institutions that, just because of their makeup, aren't really serving the outcomes that I think all of us want when we talk about community safety and corrections and those kinds of things. And that was a big decision that we had taken. We had done some surveys in the community, and we had some research to show kind of how people were feeling. So we have taken the decision over the last number of years that we ask police not to present, the same with correction officer. The individuals can present. Everybody's welcome at Pride. We're not telling anybody to stay home. But all we ask people is to leave those logos at home, because it causes that. It takes away from people's experience. And I think that there's a two-side conversation to that. It's something that we have to keep working through. But we also have to balance that it is the capital city. There are thousands of people that are coming down, so we do have extensive safety plans where we try and consider as many things. And the benefit that we have is that in the event of an emergency, the police headquarters is around the corner. It's pretty good. But over the last couple of years, we haven't really seen a lot of challenges. It's really amazing, and I say it every year, how easily, roughly, the parade comes together in a city the size of ours with as many people. Like if you give a bunch of adults a little card that says you are in zone B2 and we need you to be there at 11:45, they show up and they go and find a little zone and they kind of get into it, and you just see thousands of people self-organize. And then we go through this 2-kilometer walk through the city center, and it's really beautiful. And we have some people that come from out of province who tell us all the time that, this has the feel of a capital city celebration, but it's really, you can tell that it's a small town and that it's community based, and you can see people taking in more than people coming to see it as a spectacle, which I think is a little inverse. But safety is always our top of mind, and we have a team of people working across the city to try and make sure that we hit that.
Eddie, it's quite remarkable to hear you describe. I mean, it's just such a well-organized, a well-oiled machine. And I had no idea that there was so much work and planning goes in behind the scenes for your Pride Parade in St. John's. And obviously, because it's a larger center. Mm-hmm. And obviously, a lot of thought gone into, we've heard from Quinn and from you, Eddie, like a lot of thought, a real consultation with community and mm-hmm. listening to your community to make decisions about how things should be conducted. So it's really interesting to hear how much forethought goes into ensuring everyone feels that this is going to be a safe space for them. What about for you, Mason, in Labrador? Do you feel that, you have to give as much thought to these sorts of things, or do things, kind of go off without a hitch without having to give that kind of consideration and forethought to it?
Well, first thing first, just hearing Eddie talking about how much goes into hitch, it gives me anxiety. But here in Labrador, Safe Alliance has been at it since 2009. We had our first march in 2010. We have a couple volunteers who have been there right from the beginning. So, but I've only been here for 4 years, which is still a lot of experience in the great scheme of things. But I'm sure they can tell you a lot more of how it was in the beginning. But for us, we still have to get in touch with the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay, who are usually pretty good at working with us. And then in terms of our security, well, as part of the actual walk or whatnot, you have to have one lane closed down. And we usually have the fire chief leading our way. And then we may or may not have the town cop. I'm not sure if we have them this year because I don't think they confirmed yet as of speaking right now. For us, ours is small. It's like a 15-minute walk. We walk from the Queen of Peace Middle School down one little road through one little 4-way stop to the Kinsman Center. And I think the most we had was 200 people in the parade. Now, Goose Bay is still only 8,000 people, so 200 people is still quite a nice number to have. But, it's not like the big cities where you have like thousands of people lined up along the side of the streets. We'll see some people, but it's definitely a focus on the people marching as opposed to, I guess, everything else outside of the actual march. But yeah, it usually goes off without a hitch, I think, but, your safety is always still a concern. We're always still very conscious of what's going on around us. I know at one point we got flipped off last year by people who were, not enjoying us marching. But yeah, it takes 15 minutes. We're in and out. And then we usually have our, the rest of our events at the park, which is a big drawing as well. And that's where we usually have live music and stuff. But yeah, safety is always a big concern for us as well. And fortunately, so far, we haven't had major issues. Going back to the talk about the police involvement and stuff, we also choose not to have police currently involved. It came from a lot of discussion too from our Indigenous communities and stuff as well. but we are always open to discussions for allowing different institutions to, like Eddie said, you're absolutely welcome to come as an individual, but it's when we bring in the logos and the entire institution that it becomes an issue. But in saying that, we've opened ourselves up to the Five Wing Goose Bay military base here, and they have been really well. And I like that I've seen that they do start to take accountability for things that's happened in the past as well. And last year, when we had a little bit of hate going on in town, unfortunately on the base, they were really quick to remedy that as well. So, we also are very focused on trying to build bridges moving forward.
Mason, I'm going to pick up on what you said there. I think you said you have your fire chief who leads the parade in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So I want to come to Eddie, because I know, Eddie, you've got Trans Support NL leading the parade in St. John's this year. And is that for the first time?
I think it might be. I mean, and I've only been with the organization for the last 3 years, but every year the parade tries to pick a grand marshal, and in different cities, it's different. Halifax has an ambassador program, and the reason why we do it is to try and focus the movement towards something this year. So the St. John's Pride team picked the theme this year of no going back. Felt it was really pertinent, especially with all this hate that's rising against the trans community and really vulnerable sectors of our community. So when we were trying to decide, well, who do we put at the head of it, we really felt, especially with all the regressive legislation that we've seen attempted and ongoing across the country that target trans people and trans youth, and especially what we're seeing happen south of the border, that it was a really pertinent time to figuratively and quite literally have the entire Pride community marching in solidarity behind this sector of our community. And it was one of the easiest decisions that I think the St. John's Pride Board has made this year. There was no hesitation, and people felt that it was really appropriate. And we're really excited to be able to do that, because I think, especially with Pride movements in general, even here in St. John's, probably about 10 years ago, there was a lot of friction between the Pride organizers and the trans community. And I think that there's definitely some wounds there. And I think that for us as an organization at this point, it's really something great to be able to see us take that focus and kind of focus the organization in that direction to make sure that vulnerable members like trans people are centered, and black and racialized people and indigenous queer people are centered, because they are in the minority. And we were just extremely grateful that when we reached out to Trans Support NL and we made them this offer and asked if it was something that they'd be interested in, overwhelmingly they appreciated the offer and came on board. And now we've been working with them over the last couple of weeks to support them in creating that contingent that kind of leads the parade through.
Quinn,
I just wanted to jump in right quick.
Absolutely,
the fire
Mason.
chief is there because it's a highway. Like, they're not like the grand marshals of it, but they have to
Right.
be in the front because of the highway.
Yeah, no, well, obviously that's important, as we talked about safety in a variety of respects, when it comes to organizing a parade of any kind, but specifically a Pride parade. Now, Quinn, I know that you wouldn't call yourself perhaps the Grand Marshal, but you have been leading the parade. And of course, you wear both hats as a member of Corner Brook Bay of Islands Pride, but also your day job is as program facilitator with Trans Support NL. So I wonder if, first of all, I could ask you, how does it resonate with you when you hear what Eddie has had to say about that relationship with the trans community and what it means to be asked to lead the parade in the capital city?
I think it's absolutely amazing. And I mean, I think everything, no matter which group you're representing, whether you're a minority or whether you're a community partner, everybody evolves over time. Like the inclusion of RNC here, I can see that not happening in other areas because of the history. And it's got to be different for every individual zone, and full respect to that. Like, if I was in St. John's for the larger community and for the history there, maybe that wouldn't be the right time to include them. And for our smaller community, we will feel that it is the right time. And as for Grand Marshal, I'm pretty sure I just got voted because I have the largest mouth. So that tends to be the I don't need a megaphone. People can still hear me in Halfway Point if I'm over in any place on O'Connell Drive. But it's something that, to me, it's such an empowering thing. I was asked to do it once, and I've been doing it since, and it's great. I like having, kids come up and they can see that as an adult, as a trans person, as somebody who's proud of not only their Indigenous heritage, but, of how they represent themselves as a queer person, that you can see the light on their faces when they see that. And it's not just me. Like, I might be the person in front, but there was groups of community partners, pride committees, and other people that came together to make this happen. So I take no credit for it. It's always been a group effort for everything coming together, for everything working as it is. There's so many moving parts. And Eddie, I'm sure you can understand, considering you have much, much more moving parts on your side. But it takes a community to make these things happen.
Renee, I want to come to you in St. Anthony to talk a bit about the safety aspect, but also about, I guess, how you decide how the event will be conducted when you have your Pride Parade.
Yeah, thanks. For the safety thing, last year, it's kind of like people just showed up magically, and I'm sure there were conversations that were being had. Katie Green is really the head organizer in St. Anthony, and her partner Kaylee is a volunteer firefighter. And so the fire trucks, we had 2 fire trucks there leading us last year, making sure there was safety. And then we had allies, parents of kids who are queer with an ambulance also come and show support that way. And, we were all just slowly, safely walking down the street, and it was very self-organized. People kind of showed up, and we understood, that there was. We always wanted to be safe, but St. Anthony, maybe the last year was our first Pride Parade, but we have people walk through the town all the time. The Orangemen used to walk through when I was a child, and the Rangers for Remembrance Day and the military and stuff, they walk through. So, and we have various parades that happen in the year. So the St. Anthony is no stranger to that. So everyone was very generous and slowed down and things like that. A lot of people parked on the side of the road to be there, just to witness. Again, it really wasn't a great day last year. But, what we talked about this year, which I thought was really great, was, what kind of pride we're going to have, and listening to everybody today talking about, the different prides in these different communities all across the province, and how everyone has a different flavor, right? Because the pride in St. Anthony is not going to look like the pride in Goose Bay or, the one down in Marystown. And because it becomes a flavor of the community of who shows up, and also what people in the community like to do and what we want to see. And I'm really, really touched last year, like beyond the people that showed up to both keep us safe, but also to make sure we had numbers and that representation, because it is the representation ultimately that keeps us safest of all. And for us people marching, but for the queer community in general, for all of the people who are out and queer, for all of the people who are quietly in the background queer, for all the youth coming up who are trying to understand themselves in this world and really don't know where to look. And I think the safety is the representation, and the safety is having visibility in this community. And it's really exciting to be a part of that. And I think you had a second part of that question, Bernice, and I might have lost it there.
Yeah, just I guess who would lead your parade or how you make that decision. But it sounds like it's very much an effort of community that just kind of comes together organically at this point still.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think like last year, to be honest, I don't even know who led the parade. I was doing the thing that I like to do that I've always done in Toronto Pride. Like I'm mostly used to Toronto Pride, except for like last year in St. Anthony and the Come Home Queer out in Small Point. That was the pride, and I spend my time wandering through saying hello to my friends that are marching with different groups, and I did the same thing last year. So I don't even remember who was at the front. I remember that there was full of like really happy, fun faces who were excited to be having the first pride march in St. Anthony. Yeah, it was a very exciting time. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And of course, as we grow, right, as things become more organized and we have more time to plan, I'm sure there'll be different things we'll be discussing about, how safety will work and who will lead. But yeah, I think it will continue to organize and grow as we do.
Quinn, Renee talked there about allies being part of the event in St. Anthony. How important is it for people who are not members of the 2S LGBTQ plus community to take part in any of the Pride events that are being held?
If the allies weren't there, we wouldn't be able to strut the runway now. So allies are important. I mean, coming out to, it may not be for you, but to show the support to the community that this is a welcoming place. We will make the world a better place one day at a time. I know of a couple of places where allies weren't welcome, and that broke my heart. And it's been paramount for us since the beginning. I mean, when you look at Newfoundland, especially rural communities, many of the pride groups were made up primarily of all allies first, before it was a safe place or that people felt safe enough to come forward as queer. And again, if it wasn't for the allies to come forward to help create the safe space, we wouldn't have a space to be in now. So I think allies, personally, to me, are very important and are welcome to any event that we host.
Eddie, what would you say about the role of allies and how people can show their support?
I mean, take some weight off our shoulders. Like there's a big festival that we try and serve up to the community, and one of the things that we are always the most grateful for is when allies reached out, whether you own a business and you sign a check to support it, or you're doing what Genoa Design is doing as a partner and putting it out to their staff to say they need volunteers who's interested. Doing that means that more queer people can take in and experience the event. And I think it's also important to get a perspective. Like I think, allies should be welcome into the spaces because, I mean, like Quinn said, like allies are the majority. I think that that the organizations need to be led and organized by people who have lived experience being in the queer community and the different facets of that. But I think that it's important for allies to come out and get a different perspective of what Pride celebrations are. Like we balance ourselves in the 3 Ps. We say that Pride is first and foremost a protest and an advancement for human rights. And it's also the protection that comes from creating those safer spaces when we have community together. And then it's that party and that celebration of queer joy in the face of all of this animosity and this adversity. And for us to kind of balance all those kinds of things, we really need people to take that in and support it. And I think going to events outside of the parade, go to the parade. It's a lot of fun. We end up Pride in the Park. But there's so many different facets and of events that are happening and categories of events that are happening. Like we have panels that are coming in. We have our queer art showcase, Pride After Dark, that has 20 different art performers, and we're bringing in Jaylene Time, who's a 60s scoop survivor from British Columbia, and Terra Nova is here, and we've got performers from Calgary, and then all of these 20 performers from here that go into the Sheridan to put off an amazing show. Take all that in, because it's more than just what you see televised. It's more than what the news covers. You really get to see what the community is and what makes the community up by just taking in these events, and we welcome you to do it. Absolutely do.
Mason, we're quickly running out of time, and I don't want to miss out on the chance to ask each of you what Pride means to you. You know, what having this time, whether it's in June or July or August, to celebrate Pride, what does it mean to you, Mason, personally, I guess?
Oh, personally, for me, it's a time to reflect on everything that we've done so far and to figure out what we're going to do next. It's a time to bring allies and queer people together and remind us all that we're all human, even if we go through life differently. Like Eddie was saying, it's so important that, allies continue to support us even outside of Pride. Like we said, most people will say, we're still queer the rest of the year for the rest of our lives. It's not just June and then when all the corporate rainbows go away July 1st, we're still here. So for me, Pride is a protest. It absolutely is. It always will be political, but it's also a time just to celebrate being human and oneness, and hopefully bringing us all together and reminding us that we're all still part of the same community and that we all just want to grow.
Quinn, what does Pride this time of year mean to you?
To me, it's always about bringing people together and showing, especially for rural, where, the exposure is not really there for some smaller communities, and it gives people an understanding that queer people, we are the service industry. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're teachers, we're everything. We've been here since the beginning of time. We're not going anywhere. And we're human, just like everybody else. And it's showcasing that for some of us, being queer is one part of who we are. And we would like to be able to embrace that as publicly as anything else that we do. Right? If you're heavy into sports, people really like to push that, well, they've got trophies or this, that, and the other thing. But if you're queer and you've been through hell and back and you're still here and you're still willing to evolve and learn more about everybody around you, I think that's beautiful. And that's what makes Pride important to me.
Eddie, what about for you? What would you say about, I'm just a little struck by how Quinn just put that. It's very touching to think about, still being here. And you've all seen probably this post about, Pride is important because there's somebody going to bed tonight thinking that it would be better to be dead than to be queer. And that really is really, the essence of it, when people can just be who they are. So, Eddie, what would you say about what Pride means to you, especially at this time of year?
I think the thing that always stands out to me is that as queer people, and no one said anything to the contrary to me on this point when I've brought it up, is I didn't realize until I was in purely queer spaces, whether that be traveling or whether that be here in St. John's, this weight that kind of comes off of your shoulders when you are in those spaces that you don't realize that you're carrying. And there is something that comes over you and you feel this sense of belonging and you feel different. And one of the things that I think I'm the most grateful for is to see how much that's grown in St. John's, how many different intersections have kind of started to lean in and to engage. And when we see the festival come together here, and even when we go to different ones, like last year I was in Gambo, this year I was in Clarenville. Next year we're hoping to work with all the different Pride organizations across the province, because there's some people that want to make it their summer tour to go and hit as many of them as they can. And Come Home Queer in Adams Cove, like Renee was talking about earlier, there, no matter where you are and how big or how small the group is, there is this comfort that comes when you're amongst that kind of chosen family, as we like to put it. And to be able to experience that full on and be part of a group of people that are at the center of trying to bring all of that together here in the capital city is probably one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever gone through, and I think our board would say the same thing.
Renee, you grew up in St. Anthony Bight, and I know that you have said that your first experience with Pride parades was in was in Toronto. So after you had left rural Newfoundland, what does Pride mean to you now, being able to celebrate back home on the tip of the Great Northern Peninsula?
What's so funny, as everyone was talking, I was thinking about when I was in Toronto and I would be feeling homesick. I would go to Little Portugal, and guaranteed you'd smell salt fish cooking somewhere. Just wander around the community. And there was a bar there in Little Italy area called the Brass Taps. And the Brass Taps was a bar that was owned by Newfoundlanders, and there was often a lot of Newfoundlanders there. And you go in, you hear the accent and of people from all over, all over the whole province. And it was amazing because you kind of felt like it was home. And that is what Pride is like. And, when I was first coming out, I was in Toronto, and I went to Pride, and I was like, oh, it was amazing to just feel that I could express fully. And what does that even mean? And it just means that all of a sudden I felt like I was around a group of people who felt like they were free enough to love someone of the same gender, to explore their gender, to have shifted their genders to actually represent, who they feel inside. People who felt free in their expression, who didn't feel that they needed to box themselves up. People who felt like they wanted to allow themselves to love out loud. And that is what Pride is. And having the whole community come. Oh, I'm so getting verklempt in this moment. But last year, having my sister be with me, my parents and niece were away. They're going to be here this year. So I'm excited about that. Seeing other people's family be there with them in these small communities. It's just so beautiful to be able to love out loud in rural Newfoundland and to know that there's a place for us everywhere. We don't need to go to Toronto. We don't need to go to St. John's, although I've never caught a St. John's Pride. I really want to, but we don't need to go there. But we can stay in our small communities, and we can find joy and love and acceptance and freedom to exist exactly as we are everywhere. And that is what Pride means to me this year for sure.
Quinn, we're very quickly running out of time, but I want to give you an opportunity to just maybe, if you can, give a favorite moment from a past Pride event, something that stands out for you that you hold on to, and this is why we do what we do.
A little girl came up to me, and I had met them years past, and they told me that the reason they were still here is because of the events that we do to show them that it's okay to be them. Not topping that.
Eddie, what about for you? Doesn't have to be something, obviously like that. Maybe it's, the joy of waving and, a rainbow flag. But what is there a favorite moment that you can point to as we wrap up the show?
Yeah, every year there's always often somebody that I'm connected to in life, who will make a point to come and find me at the parade and say, this was my first time ever walking in the parade, and seeing them process that experience and seeing them at the end of the parade of Pride in the Park. Like, those moments are always amazing, as well as like the Moms from Hugs and the Moms from Dads program, to see young people walking up to these parents of other children in absolute tears and getting that comfort from a complete stranger who just happened to be there that day and knew that that's what they needed. Those are the pieces that I'll never let go of.
Mason, I guess the final word to you then. Is there a specific moment from a past event that you would point to as one of your favorites?
Oh, I think it was just last year. Me and another volunteer were manning our Safe Alliance table at our Pride in the Park. And a young trans woman came up and outed herself to us for the first time in her life, and said it was because of events like that she felt comfortable enough to, say it out loud and to start pursuing her truth. So that really sticks with me to this day, and is what we strive so hard to do, to create the safer places for everyone to, love out loud. So
thank you for that, Mason. And thanks to all four of you for joining us on the program today. I really think it's been enlightening and informative. And of course, we've also gotten the word out about the various events that are going to be happening in the days and weeks to come. June 28th here in Corner Brook, the Pride Parade happening. July 5th in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And in August in St. Anthony. Eddie, it escapes me now the date.
July 9th to the 20th in St. John's.
9th to the 20th in St. John's, and the parade is which day specifically?
The 20th. It all leads up to the parade.
all leading up to that, the culminating in the Pride Parade that's happening in St. John's. You can get all the details, no doubt, on the social media pages for all of these organizations. Thank you very much to all four of you for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Bernice.
Thank you for having us.
Always
Thanks,
a pleasure.
everyone.
And happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
Pride.
And thank
Happy
you,
Pride.
CBC.
And that is it for The Signal today. If you missed the conversation or if you missed part of it, you just tuned in perhaps partway through, you can rewatch the episodes on our YouTube channel. You can listen on the CBC Listen app. And if you have any thoughts about today's program, you can email us, thesignal@cbc.ca, or leave us a voicemail, 709-576-5260. Coming up tomorrow, Adam will be back just in time for Tuesday's gardening show.